All right, let's dive right into this. Today, we're unpacking a journey that is, well, deeply painful but absolutely necessary. The process of personal growth, and that intense, heavy friction that happens when you start outgrowing a relationship. If you've ever felt like you're moving forward while someone you really care about is just standing still, then you know exactly how complex, isolating, and honestly, utterly exhausting this feels. You're evolving, right? But the environment around you is aggressively demanding that you stay exactly the same. So, in this explainer, we're going to break down the profound psychology behind this evolution. We'll use some powerful insights to figure out exactly what happens when you outgrow someone you love, and more importantly, why it hurts so much. There's this harsh reality to personal growth that goes like this. Your evolution will eventually make the wrong people very uncomfortable. Oof, that hits hard, doesn't it? See, the painful truth that no one really tells you about healing and personal development is that it naturally and inevitably alienates toxic environments. When you start getting healthier, when you start setting firm boundaries, and when you finally start figuring out what you actually want out of life, the people who benefited from your old habits, they're going to feel that shift. They relied on you lacking boundaries. They literally depended on your complicity. So when your growth disrupts their little comfort zone, they don't applaud you. Nope, they push back. Your newfound health holds up a mirror to their stagnation, and that reflection is something they desperately want to avoid.
Which brings us to a really difficult question that you need to ask yourself right now. Are you shrinking yourself so someone else doesn't feel left behind? I want you to really just sit with that for a second. Are you deliberately dimming your own light just to maintain the peace in a stagnant dynamic? This is an incredibly common coping mechanism. Because we care deeply about these people, we internalize their discomfort. So instead of shining brightly, stepping into our full potential, and maybe risking their displeasure or their own feelings of inadequacy, we choose to play small. We minimize our achievements. We apologize for being happy. But listen, keeping yourself small just to make someone else feel big, that is a temporary fix, and it comes at a massive, completely unsustainable cost to your own mental and emotional well-being.
To navigate all this, we definitely need a roadmap. So today, we're looking at 6 harsh truths. We'll see that healing actually has a dark side, and that the wrong people will get uncomfortable. We'll explore why guilt is a totally natural reaction, how insecure partners resist boundaries, why leaving is definitely not a betrayal, and finally, how you can move forward unapologetically.
Okay, let's jump right into part 1, the pain of evolution and exactly why growth hurts.
Right now, you might actually be feeling overwhelming guilt for evolving. And if you're currently struggling with this, please know that this guilt is a completely normal psychological reaction to leaving the past behind. Tackling the guilt associated with personal growth is hands down one of the biggest emotional hurdles when you're outgrowing a toxic or stagnant environment. You might genuinely feel like you're abandoning someone, right? You might feel selfish for wanting more out of your life when they seem perfectly content with less. But we really have to untangle the difference here between abandonment and evolution. You aren't abandoning them. You are just finally growing up and growing out of a space that simply no longer fits you. Think of it like a plant outgrowing its pot. If you stay contained in a space that's too small, your roots are literally going to suffocate. That guilt you're feeling, it's just the growing pains of your roots breaking the pot.
Now, the antidote to that very guilt lies in understanding true love. True love is a bond that never, ever requires you to shrink yourself or dim your light just so someone else doesn't feel left behind. Let that definition completely sink in. When you contrast your heavy feelings of guilt against this idea of true love, the picture becomes incredibly clear. A healthy partner, or a true friend for that matter, would celebrate your evolution, not stifle it. They'd want to see you shine. They would be inspired by your growth and, honestly, maybe even use it as a catalyst for their own. They would never demand that you stay in the shadows just to keep them comfortable with their own stagnation. Love is an expander, folks, not a constrictor. If your bond requires you to be less than you are, well, it's not a bond at all. It's a cage.
Moving right along to part 2, the pushback. Let's look at why insecure partners resist.
This resistance almost always builds into a very predictable pattern. Let's walk through the actual mechanics of how this plays out in real time. Step 1. You set a new boundary. You decide what you will and absolutely will not tolerate anymore. Maybe you stop always being the one to apologize, or you finally start protecting your free time. Then comes step 2. The insecure partner feels threatened. Remember, they were totally comfortable with the old you, the one who never pushed back. Your growth acts as this glaring mirror, highlighting their lack of progress and their own unresolved issues. So they interpret your boundary not as an act of self-care, but as a direct personal attack. And that leads to step 3. They resist or induce guilt to try and maintain the old dynamic. This is the crucial mechanism here. They might pick fights, give you the silent treatment, or suddenly play the victim. They're trying to pull you back down into the familiar, because that is where they feel safe and in control. This step-by-step breakdown perfectly explains why they fight your growth tooth and nail. Honestly, it has nothing to do with your worth, and absolutely everything to do with their own defense mechanisms.
That brings us to part 3, the reframe. We're talking about self-loyalty over betrayal.
The source material here challenges us to radically shift our perspective. The old mindset tells us that walking away is a betrayal of our love. It frames leaving as a failure, a breaking of a promise, or even an act of cruelty. When you operate from this old mindset, you are essentially being held hostage by history. But I want you to look at the new mindset. Walking away is an act of self-loyalty. This is the paradigm shift that changes everything. It's a total game changer. Staying in a toxic or restrictive environment, stifling your own growth, and silencing your own needs just to keep someone else placated, that is actually the ultimate betrayal to yourself. You are literally sacrificing your future for the sake of their comfort. Reframing this choice as an act of profound self-loyalty frees you from that trap of misplaced guilt. It finally gives you the necessary permission to honor your own potential and protect the person you're working so incredibly hard to become.
And finally, part 4, the resolution, how we start moving forward unapologetically.
So after all of this, we are left with one stark, unavoidable question. Will you choose to shrink, or will you choose to shine? As our source material strongly encourages, it is time to move forward unapologetically. You have done the heavy lifting, you've done the hard work of healing, you've faced the dark side of evolution, that agonizing guilt and the intense pushback from insecure partners. Now? Well, the choice is entirely yours. You can retreat to the safety of the old dynamic, dimming your light so you don't rock the boat, or you can embrace your hard-earned evolution. Stop shrinking. Choose self-loyalty. Choose to shine. Thank you so much for walking through this explainer with me today. Take this question with you, let it marinate, and I really hope it empowers whatever courageous move you decide to make next.